Hi guys, so Battlebots episode 4 for series 4. So this started off with one of the most violent fights possibly in Battlebots history, or even robot combat history. This was a fight where I actually, like before even watching the rest of the episode, I went back and just watched it straight away again because it was so intense. I don't know if it's the design of Cobalt's weapon, because it's got kind of like the smaller teeth and then the big one. Maybe it like creates a notch with the smaller teeth and then hooks it with the big one to throw robots that high. I don't know, or maybe it's just insanely fast and powerful. Whatever it does, it's freaking awesome to watch. So despite the fact that this fight ended in kind of a lame way with someone getting stuck on the floor, it was still such a good fight because both bots did exactly what they're meant to do. Cobalt like absolutely shredded stuff and threw things in the air, but Duck stood up to a massive spinner. Like, that's perfect. That's exactly what these robots are meant to do. So as far as I'm concerned with that, that's a good fight. Also, in terms of Cobalt losing, you got to remember at this stage this isn't a knockout. Obviously, it's almost like a judgment, you know, of how the fights go to who gets in the final 16. So with that in mind, I think Cobalt will still score really highly from this fight because they obviously dominated most of it and in style. So I don't think it's anything to be too worried about for now. They always, you know, they say how tough Duck is and stuff, but this fight really proves it. They weren't even slowing down slightly. There was no loss on one side or anything, like one side drive or anything gone. They were still, like the main chassis of the robot, completely functional. And I wish the fight had gone on longer just to see how much they could have taken, how much more punishment could that thing take. It's staggering how well made that thing is. So yeah, hell of an opening for this episode. Next fight was Rotator versus Bombshell. So although this fight was really short, there was still a kind of a back and forth there. It really looked like Bombshell were just going to dominate at first, but then Rotator seemed to sort of compose themselves and be like, no, we're going to win this, and then just come back and just destroy Bombshell. A couple of late hits there as well, which is kind of interesting. But then we've seen fights where one robot seems to be immobilized, and then the other one just hangs back, and then the other one starts again. So I think just to be safe, I say fair enough, go for it. We then got a bit of behind the scenes stuff where they're talking about more about the sort of the Blacksmith Quantum fight and the sort of what happened with that, which is good because even though they provided a lot of information, a lot of that was just on the Facebook, so to the casual viewer they might still not have got what was going on there. So that was good to provide that, and also to sort of set up the dilemma that the other competitors have against facing Quantum. Do they use the strong armor where they might get stuck, or the weaker armor where they're just going to get nommed on if they get in the wrong place? Next fight was Rainbow versus Nellie the Le Block. This one was sort of simultaneously really fun and really hard to watch. It was mostly just kind of funny, really. So I love the googly eyes on Nellie, fantastic. The way like they sort of wibble around whenever it's hit sort of thing, that's great. And Chris and Kenny just looked so sort of concerned and upset whenever Nellie was hit, and it was almost quite endearing. Especially that long shot at the end when it zooms out and you can just see Chris in the background going like waving, like, oh no, like, I don't know, it just really tickled me, that shot. Hard to judge Rainbow's sort of performance on this. Mainly because the thing they destroyed was just the plastic kind of aesthetic part of Nellie. So obviously that's probably quite easy to destroy with sort of any weapon nowadays. That's obviously not taking anything away from them. I can't wait to see them in another fight. I love the rainbow sort of design as the bar spins because of the way it's painted. And of course it's really good to see robots from yet another country competing in this competition. We then got a nice big sort of tactic talk bit from Donald Hudson, which was again really interesting. He's such a seasoned kind of veteran, as it were, that it's really good to get that like full insight on how he's going to approach every fight, and you can really like see that they're not just like pointing these robots at each other and just smashing into each other. There's real tactic going into their driving and their approach and everything here, so that was cool. And then we had the fight of Lockjaw against Quantum. Lockjaw were very, very bold in this fight, but I guess not in an overconfident way because they seem to know what they're doing. They sort of were going in between the jaws and the chassis of Quantum a few times, but managing to sort of wiggle out, get out before they could get the bite down. Yeah, incredible driving from them. Obviously, I love to see Quantum get a bite on something because it's the British team and because it's just such a unique design, but it was a really fair fight and yeah, good to watch still. Next up was Blacksmith against Kraken. And I don't know if this is because we know the situation, we know that Blacksmith just lost to a Crusher, but it looked to me, just the aggression that they were fighting with was like they were saying, like, how are we losing to another Crusher? Like, no, not happening. And yeah, it just made for this really aggressive, violent fight. It was very even though with the attacks later on from Kraken, again getting those Crushers in, proving that they're a real competitor here and not just a silly robot, which with big silly teeth, etc. Similarly, Ribot versus Endgame. Ribot, again, sort of a silly vibe to the team and the robot. You know, obviously it's a giant frog sitting on top of it, but incredibly tough. And yeah, very unexpected against Endgame, you know, take the sport very seriously. This is going to sound a little bit snide, but it's something very satisfying about seeing a team who takes the whole thing very seriously lose against a team who's maybe there just for a bit more fun. I know it sounds really horrible, but it's just something kind of funny about it. And then the main event fight was Sawblaze against Tombstone. This was a really, I didn't know which way this was really going to go. Sawblaze had really good control at first. They were like doing exactly what you meant to do against Tombstone and just force its weapon into the floor or the wall or wherever. But yeah, then they just lost it when the pulverizer fired, and then they hit into that. Tombstone got away and spun up. That was almost like the turning point. I don't know why, but they didn't really show who fired that pulverizer, whether it was someone from the Sawblaze team trying to hit Tombstone as it went past, or whether it was someone on the Tombstone team vis-a-vis trying to hit Sawblaze. So yeah, I'd like to know who that was, just out of interest. Tombstone though, it's like a ratchet. Like once it's got you at a disadvantage, that just gets worse and worse and worse. It only goes one way. And I couldn't believe that stat at the end. 16 wins to 2 losses, 14 of those wins knockout. Like, there's a reason that people are very scared of this robot. Again, I love the sportsmanship at the end as well, with Sawblaze realizing they'd lost and just like counting out with their saw, just sawing their own chassis and with the count out. I thought that was quite fun. So overall, it was an episode, again, some amazing fights. The science-y kind of behind the scenes bit, not quite as good as last week, but still really informative and added to the show. Thanks as always for watching, and I'll see you next video. Cheerio.